Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of Around the Book. We have week 1 of college football done, and as you can see by our records, none of us went 0-2, which is what we were trying to avoid. A few of us were close, obviously, but no one went 0-2, which is good. So we're doing something right. We're still it was a little bit of a preseason for us still as NFL is about to kick off, so hopefully we're in better shape here. But I'm going to go over my picks from last week. I went 1-1. My lock of Ball State plus 26.5 against University of Kentucky. That was a heartbreaker at the end. They were down by 24, so they were covering. And with about 12 seconds left, UK scored a last-minute touchdown with some backup guys in. So just really started the day off right for me on Saturday morning. And then Colorado obviously shocked. I don't even know if you should say shocked the world. They just went out and did the damn thing like Dion thought they were going to. That probably should have been my lock over the Ball State one, it seems. So 1-1, hopefully going to improve a little bit this week. JT, if you want to go over your record, and obviously 2-0, so we don't have much to talk about there, I guess.
I was going to say preseason. I don't know. It feels like mid-season form to me.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to flex my undefeated record while I can because, the odds of doing it again are probably not great. So went 2-0 last week with my bets. Utah State covering the 23.5 point spread versus Iowa. Iowa did squeak out their 24 points, so really Utah State only needed to score 1 to bail me out there. So that was an easy cover. And my other one was Washington minus 14.5 versus Boise State, which in the first quarter looked a little dicey. I'm messaging you guys in the group chat. I wasn't feeling super confident to start, and then Washington blew it wide open. So feeling good with my college picks so far, 2-0, leading the pack, but I'm just going to try and stay humble while I can.
Yeah.
I went 1-1. My underdog didn't look great. North Texas. I don't know if it was North Texas was disappointing or Cal was really surprising. I don't know. I wrote Cal off this year. They look good. They looked pretty good. As did most of the Pac-12, which is what bailed me out and allowed me to at least hit my lock of Stanford -3 against, or what was the spread on that? It was -3, Jake.
I think so.
Jake can tell you.
Yeah.
What?
Jake would know if anyone.
I think it was 3.5.
Yeah. -3.5 against Hawaii. They covered that pretty handily, so I'll take that. Hopefully it'll go a little better this week and get some better hits on my value picks.
Yeah, so I had the opposite of Dalton last week for my underdog. I took the Hawaii money line for the vibes, and the vibes were not great because it really wasn't close. So we took that L, but my lock, which was Fresno State, covering, I think it was a 4-point spread against Purdue. Not only did they cover, but they won. So I'm pretty happy. I was kind of scared of having that 0-2 record under my name here, but I'm glad we got to avoid that.
Yeah.
I know we're going to keep track of our overall record, but are we keeping track of like a inner team head-to-head record? Because right now Dalton's out in front.
I'm in last.
I don't know how often we'll bet against each other like that, but so far we have an undefeated champion.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely get some more head-to-head this year, especially in the NFL. So I think we'll definitely see that. So I guess we'll get into week 2 of college football here and go over what we think our locks and our underdogs are for this week. I'll kick it off. My lock of the week is going to be UTEP. University of Texas El Paso will be playing Northwestern on Saturday at 3:30. They're -1.5 UTEP is against Northwestern. I mean, I'm going to take that all day. Northwestern is – they got 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel right now. The wheels are falling off. So I don't know what Northwestern could do to make this a successful season. I definitely don't think it's going to start this week against UTEP, so I'm going to take UTEP as my lock. Right now, they're currently, when I put in my bet, they're at minus 105. So you're going to get what you put in basically back, a little bit less. So, I mean, it's nothing crazy, but I definitely think they're going to cover that. And then my underdog is going to be the University of Cincinnati money line. This week is probably going to be one of their – I think it's going to be a good tune-up game, getting ready for Oklahoma when they play them here in a few weeks. They're going to actually be playing Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh's a tough team, but I think with what UC did last week, they won 66-13. Granted, it was against – but putting up that many points is still pretty impressive. So I think there's a chance that they go on the road and take down Pittsburgh. Right now, when I put in my bet, it was at plus 240. So there's some great value there. So UC is my underdog for this week.
So UTEP is on the road for that game, right?
Nope, they're at home. Or no, they're away. They're away. I apologize.
I was going to say, how far has Northwestern fallen? Big Ten team underdog at home to whatever conference UTEP is in.
Yeah.
Man,
Exactly.
it's bad in Northwestern. I mean, it's usually bad. But, I mean, these last couple of years with Pat Fitzgerald, it had been respectable most years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But this is the Northwestern I knew.
They were in the Big Ten championship game 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that with
that
the
long.
Greg Newsom team? They were good. They've had a lot of good teams under Pat Fitzgerald.
And they played Ohio State pretty well last year. So, granted, it was bad conditions and they were at Northwestern, but they don't look like the same Northwestern this year.
That whole situation still, I don't want to say blows my mind because nothing really shocks me in this world anymore, I feel like. But, man, that felt like it came out of left field and it just went down fast.
Totally agree.
All right. So I'll go to my picks. I'll give my lock of the week is going to be Notre Dame minus 7.5 versus NC State. Notre Dame's had 2 cupcakes to start. They had Navy and they had Tennessee State, both of whom they blew out. This game I think will obviously be a lot closer. NC State is, a Power 5 team. That's going to be their first real test. But this is Notre Dame, man. They have made a living, a many lifetimes of living off of beating up mid-Power 5 teams. The Rutgers of the world or the NC States or, the Dukes of the past. Maybe not this year's Duke team, but, they just beat mediocre Power 5 teams. So even with a touchdown plus spread, I still like Hartman. I like their running back. I like this Notre Dame team. I think they're going to cover that. Probably not as comfortably as I like, but I think they'll win that game by at least 10. And then my underdog pick of the week, I'm going with one of my favorite college rivalries, the Cy-Hawk game. We've got Iowa traveling to Iowa State, and Iowa State is a 3.5-point underdog at home. I've seen some places you can get it at 4. And this game is always competitive. The last 5 years, every game has been decided by 10 points or less. 3 of them have been decided by 3 points or less. So 3.5, 4 points as a home underdog. I will take Matt Campbell and this well-run Iowa State program.
Yeah, and
Go
ahead. Sorry, Dalton.
So I just going back to that Iowa well again, betting against Iowa 2 weeks in a row.
I guess that's just going to be the theme for me this year.
Yeah, and I think what you said about Notre Dame and just taking on the runts of the Power 5 conference is definitely true. And hopefully when Ohio State sees them here in a couple weeks, they can put them in their place, in my opinion. So we'll see about that.
They could have a big trap game next week, the week before Ohio State, taking on Central Michigan. So, watch out there.
All right. I'll get into my picks. So for my lock, I'm I'm going with Colorado -3 at Nebraska. -115. So, not terrific value, but I mean, Colorado looked fantastic. -3. This feel against Nebraska, the team that's very much rebuilding. This feels like free money. This is like one of those lines that's so generous. Like you almost wonder, like, what do the bookies know that we don't? You always like it. You always worry about that, but I mean, I really find it hard to believe that Colorado wouldn't win this game by at least a field goal. I mean, I see them winning, even if they sleepwalk through this game. They have a hangover after upsetting TCU. Even if they sleepwalk through this game, Nebraska plays great. I still see Colorado winning this by a touchdown. They're going to have the two most talented players in the field in Sanders and Hunter. This feels like as much of an ironclad lock as you can get. And then for my upset this week, for my underdog, I've got everyone's favorite college football underdog, Appalachian State at North Carolina, money line +625. So I'm swinging for the fences this one. But I mean, App State, they pretty consistently hit these upsets. They beat Texas A&M last year. They gave UNC a tough game last year as well. They're always sniffing around. They've given Big Ten teams like Penn State a run in the past few years. Obviously, they're famous for the Michigan upset years ago, but like they've been consistently doing it. So I like the chances on that this year. I also think North Carolina might be coming off a little bit of a hangover after the South Carolina game. I think that was a big game for them. Really wasn't that big of a game, but I think for them it was a big game, and I could see a letdown going up against App State. So yeah, and I love the value at +625. I think App State's going to at least be in it. And I think those odds, you got to take it.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that
I think-
State pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think anytime you get nice odds with App State, you gotta put some money on it. But for my picks, for my lock, I've got UNLV at +36 against Michigan this week, and the odds are -108, so it's not great value. But Michigan had the exact same odds against East Carolina last week, and they failed to cover that. UNLV is coming off a big win against Bryant, who isn't the toughest opponent, but they put up 44 points against them. They had 3 running backs who rushed for 60 or more yards, and they scored 5 TDs on the ground. I think if they can keep running the ball well, it'll slow the game down and not let Michigan put up enough points. I don't think the Rebels really have any chance to win this game, but all they really have to do is not lose by 36 points, which I think is looking pretty likely here with how their offense played last week. And then for my underdog this week, we are really, really swinging for the fences, even more than last week. I've got Stanford money line over USC at +2,000 odds. I really liked what I saw from Troy Taylor in the Cardinal first game. The offense looked electric. I've seen too many USC and Stanford games come down to the wire to not take these odds. I don't know how likely this is, but I do think it's worth putting $10 down and just seeing what happens. I think if Stanford's offense can play well enough, they can keep it close until the end, and that's all you can really ask for against USC's defense, which isn't that great. So we'll see. The vibes pick didn't work last week when I bet against Stanford, so this week I'm betting for him. So we'll see if my luck changes.
You're going to fade yourself on this one?
I
like it. Yeah, and my question to you guys, speaking of USC, with Caleb Williams, do you think he'll have a better game this week, knowing that he's got people coming at his throat? With Shedeur Saunders, Penix looked good. I mean, there's Travis Hunter. I mean, all coming for the Heisman. So, like, are we going to see Caleb go off this week? Are we going to see him take another step back? Is he going to be in his head? Dude, does he even care? I don't know if you guys had any thought on that.
Well, for the sake of my bet, I hope he doesn't go off. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's got the number one pick on lock, and I think he's pretty much I think right now he's still, I would say, the favorite for the Heisman. So I think if he has a bad game this week, then next week he might start feeling some pressure, but I think he's probably feeling pretty safe for now.
Can I give an absolute tinfoil hat conspiracy theory?
Absolutely.
Did you guys see the comments that I think it was Caleb Williams' dad made? Like, yeah, we might not go out into the draft. It just depends on what team is there. We're not going to go to a bad situation. What if Caleb Williams, he's low-key tanking? Like, I'm not that good, guys. You don't want to take me Cardinals. Let's rethink this here. Look at this Sanders kid. He's really good. Look at this Penix guy. He's really good. We'll take one of them.
I could see it.
I think
I want it
Williams.
to be true because I just think that would be hilarious. Everyone's tanking for Caleb, and then Caleb's tanking so they don't take him.
I think Caleb Williams is going to be spectacular as usual, but it doesn't matter if the rest of that USC team is still, like every USC team for the past decade, completely fraudulent. They are not that good. And they always fold in some random game they have no business losing.
Totally.
I like the pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, those odds, I love it.
All right. So that was our college slate for week 2. Now, what everyone has probably been waiting for, week 1 of the NFL is here. We can all celebrate, be happy. Tomorrow night at this time, we'll be at halftime of the Lions and the Chiefs. Hopefully the Chiefs are losing at that point, but we'll see how that goes. But let's get into our picks for that week. I'm going to start out with my lock of the week, and I have the Washington Commanders -7.5 against the Cardinals. Like we were just talking about, Cardinals are a dumpster fire, for lack of a better word, right now. It feels like I don't think anything's really going right for them. Players are hurt. Players are coming in. I don't know how this season's going to go for them. And with the Commanders, it seems like they took that next step this year. We'll see how Sam Howell goes. I know people are excited about him. So the line was originally -7. I did an alternate line at -7.5 just because I like that half point. To me, I feel like if I took the -7, it would just draw at that point and push. So I took the -7.5 to give myself a little bit of a better boost on if it hits, because I really think the Commanders are going to win by 10 or 14 points this week. And I have them at +110 for that -7.5. And then for my underdog, I know Jake and Dalton, you guys are going to be excited about this. I have the Raiders money line at +160. I don't like how Sean Payton went into the Broncos situation. It was just disrespecting everyone and thinks that his crap doesn't stink. That just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't think Russell Wilson is – he had a really bad year last year. So, until he comes out this year – I know he's got his Super Bowls and he's a great quarterback, but is he on the decline? Who knows? I know that team last year was very upset with everyone, just with themselves, with how the season went, because obviously they didn't expect that outcome for last year. And the Raiders are looking good. So, I really think that they'll give Denver all that they can handle, and I honestly think they'll come out of that game with a win.
I really like both of those because, like you said, what if it wasn't a coaching issue? What if Russell Wilson is just cooked and Sean Payton can't fix it because, he's, kind of someone who had a lot of success with a Hall of Fame quarterback in New Orleans and prime Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. So, what if they're both a little fraudulent, both Peyton and Russ at this point? So, if you're going to bet the Raiders, I think early when they're, dogs like this to a team who may or may not be any good at all, I think this is now the time to bet the Raiders for that money line. And then I'm as big a Sam Howell truther as there is out there. I had a first round grade on him, so I think he's just going to pepper the ball around, get it to John Dotson, get it to Scary Terry. this is going to shock people how good Sam Howell is this year, and I'm all for it.
And I think honestly, with the Cardinals, I think it could be another tune-up game for them to get ready for the next week when they have to go play the Broncos. So I really like this game for them. But those are my 2 NFL picks for the week.
All right, I will roll my 2 out here. I wasn't sure if we were doing this or not, but I did pick a favorite and an underdog, which I think you did. I didn't know if that was something we were planning to do, but just, that was the kind of the theme we took with college football, so that's kind of what I carried over to NFL.
Yeah.
So my favorite I took was 49ers -2.5 at the Steelers. And frankly, I just think the Steelers are fraudulent. Like, they're always going to be good. Mike Tomlin's such a good coach. They have good players. But I'm just not a big Kenny Pickett believer. I think George Pickens is pretty overhyped. I think they just get a lot more love than what I think they deserve from the talent they have. And honestly, I think the 49ers are really good. So even going on the road, even just winning by a field goal gets them the cover in this game. I feel really comfortable with that, even not knowing what the quarterback situation is there. Kyle Shanahan has almost made the quarterback position irrelevant. So I'm riding with the Niners early with this one. And then my underdog pick, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +6 at Minnesota. I think most people kind of view the Vikings last year as fraudulent. Their 13 wins. How many one-score games did they win? It was like 9. So keeping this game, win or lose, within one score, 6 points, feels like a pretty safe bet, especially for a Buccaneers team that looks like they could have a top 5 defense on paper. And honestly, I'm probably going to bet the money line for the Bucs on this game, but I'll play it safe here. I'll take the points. I think the Bucs are just a better team than the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to have the bottom fall out on them this year. That defense is completely void of talent. So I feel really good about Buccaneers definitely covering within 6 points. And, if you're feeling a little spicy, take them on the money line.
I like that. I like the like you said, I think the Vikings defense definitely has taken a step back. So I really like the Bucs possibly going out there and covering it. I wouldn't bet it personally. That's just me, because I don't see. I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan, but you never know.
No one's a Baker Mayfield fan. It's everything else to like about the Bucs.
All right. So I'm getting to my picks. For my lock, I like the Saints -3 against the Titans this week at -115. The Saints just really feel like a team trending in the right direction. From the little we saw of the ones in preseason, things look pretty good. The defense, I think, is still going to be really strong. And as long as that defense is solid, the biggest thing is they have a huge upgrade at quarterback. I think that the difference between Andy Dalton / Jameis Winston to Derek Carr, regardless of what you think of Derek Carr, that's a significant upgrade. And I think they're just a team that really looks like they're trending in the right direction. Also, Juwan Johnson at tight end, I think, is one of my biggest candidates for a huge breakout year. I think he could really put up some crazy numbers this year. So I really like the Saints this year. And in the opposite direction, Tennessee just looks like a team headed for a complete rebuild. I think we're going to see the Titans by November sitting at 2-8 and trotting out Will Levis, and just Will Levis trying to survive in the NFL. And I just think I think they're in for a really ugly year. So I really like the Saints to cover a field goal easily. And then my underdog pick, I know they got beat by this team last year, but I really like the Dolphins on the road at the Chargers, plus 140 money line. I really like this just because I feel like, one, I think Mike McDaniel is going to look at the tape and see what went wrong and make the fixes. I really trust McDaniel as a coach, which vice versa. Is any coach more on the hot seat right now than Staley? I mean, I don't know how he still has a job. So I really like Miami to pull that upset off. I know the coast to coast kind of tends to turn people off of picking those teams traveling, but week 1, it doesn't really matter because you can really kind of plan out your travel a lot more. I think it works. So yeah, those are my picks.
All right. So my lock for week 1 of the NFL season, I have the Lions at +5 against Kansas City tomorrow night at minus 110 odds. I think, the Lions had one of the best offenses in the league last year, and we still don't know if Travis Kelce's playing tomorrow. It doesn't seem like Chris Jones is playing in the near future at all. The Chiefs were 8-11 against the spread last year. And then especially with Kelce out, that receiving core in general is not looking very good. I think this game might be a coming out party. I might take the Lions money line here. I'm not sure what the odds are on that, but I think to be safe, I think they can definitely, at least if they lose, keep it within under 5 points. And then for my underdog, it looks like me and Dalton are going head to head again because I took the Titans money line at plus 140. So I guess we have a rivalry going on now. But
I love it.
The Titans, they fell apart towards the end of last season. And I do agree. I think this might be the last year before a big rebuild comes, but they were injured for a large portion last year, especially toward the end. They're all healthy now. They got Treylon Burks back. Ryan Tannehill is back. We'll see how much that affects him. But I think if they can get the run going with Henry early, trying to keep the crowd out of it, keep the game on their own pace, I think they can hang tight. I think their defense can be good. As a Raider fan, I'm not a big Carr believer, but I think the Titans defense can help slow them down. If they can control the run game and keep the crowd out of it, at 140 odds, I do like the Titans money line. I think this is going to be one of the closest games in the week 1 slate in general. So yeah, those will be my 2 NFL picks for this week.
And you were saying you possibly would take the Lions money line. They're currently at plus 180.
Ooh.
I took it earlier because when we were talking about in the group chat, I mean, I really like that. If Kelce's hurt or out, I mean, I could see this money line moving a lot. So I would say get in it while you can because it's definitely not going to be a plus 180 if he gets ruled out within the next 10 or so hours.
Here's my only holdup with that play, because I totally agree. I think the Lions are the better team considering no Chris Jones and no Travis Kelce. But Andy Reid in opening games is like 9-0 in Kansas City, and Andy Reid coming off a bye in his career is like 35-5. Like, if you give Andy Reid extra time to prepare, he is just a wizard at what he can do to get his team ready. So that's just me being a coward. I think the Lions right now are a better team, but man, I cannot bring myself to bet against Andy Reid in this situation.
And the elephant in the room, Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
yeah, that guy's pretty good too.
Yeah. So, I mean, he can make do with whatever he has, I think. So, yeah, I really like that Lions pick. So we are going to actually do a group parlay here for an anytime touchdown score. Now we will be tweeting this out. Just so if you guys do want to trail it, definitely get in with us and we'll try to make some good money here. But we're gonna have four players here, and I'll start off. I went with Isaiah Pacheco. If Kelce's out, I think he'll be one of the main targets. not only in the backfield, getting out, running some routes. I think Mahomes is going to want to go for him. He proved himself last year as a weapon on that offense. So I don't want to put like a foot in my mouth, but I could see him having multiple touchdowns tomorrow. So I think him having one is a pretty good lock on my end.
I like it. You know the Chiefs are going to move the ball, and with Kelsey out, someone's going to score touchdowns. Is it going to be Sky Moore? Is it going to be I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think Pacheco is kind of the safe option that's kind of left standing for them.
Yeah, I agree.
So my anytime touchdown scorer, I'm going to go with the unofficial sponsor of this podcast in Calvin Ridley. I think some people might forget how good Calvin Ridley is because obviously he was suspended all of last year for betting on football games. It's not great. But the year before that, he was injured. So last time we saw him, dude is one of the most crisp and elusive route runners out there right now. Still 28 years old. He's right in the prime of his career. He's coming back fresh from not playing in like a year and a half. This is going to be Trevor Lawrence's go-to guy, and they're going to want to build that connection early because he's the kind of receiver that can take them from winning a playoff game to winning playoff games this year. So I think we're going to see Calvin Ridley early and often, and I think he's going to find the end zone.
I like that. I definitely think Trevor Lawrence is going to have some fun with him.
So for mine, kind of going against your Bucks pick earlier, JT. I'm taking TJ Hawkinson. I got him at plus 165. Looks like he's at plus 160 now for an anytime touchdown. And my reasoning for this was I think Hawkinson is actually healthy for one. I think a lot of those phantom injuries were just kind of part of a hold-in while he was trying to get a new contract. But also, the Bucks allowed last year 12 touchdowns to tight ends, which tied Arizona for the most in the NFL last year. They have trouble with tight ends, and Hawkinson's a very dynamic one. I like him to find the end zone this week.
All it takes is one good matchup against Devin White, and Hawkinson's in the end zone. You put Levante David on him or Ryan Neal on him, you feel pretty good there, but one chance against Devin White, and it's cooked. That's a touchdown.
I was telling Casey this before the show. Like, it's funny how the two teams that led the league in touchdowns allowed to tight ends last year, Arizona and Tampa Bay, both teams that specifically have spent high draft picks on guys to cover tight ends. Devin White in Tampa Bay, and then Isaiah Simmons in Arizona, who's not even with the team anymore.
They gave him away. That was embarrassing.
All right. So capping off this parlay, I've got Terry McLaurin at plus 175. We've touched on this game earlier, but I think, the Cardinals are pretty much, as Casey said, a dumpster fire. So I think Washington's going to have a lot of chances in the red zone. And with Sam Howell, the young quarterback in there, I think Terry McLaurin's going to be his top target for sure and kind of a safety blanket. And with all the chances in the red zone, him being as good as he is and the 175 odds, that's really going to sweeten up the odds on the parlay as a whole. So, yeah, I'm going with Terry McLaurin to score the anytime TD.
Yeah, I like that. Like you said, definitely it's our longest shot within the parlay, so it's definitely giving us some great odds. As we have been speaking, the TJ Hawkinson anytime touchdown, the odds keep going down. So it's becoming more and more likely that someone thinks he's going to score here. So
I think everyone else found that stat.
Yeah. So we have TJ Hawkinson at plus 160, Isaiah Pacheco at plus 135, Terry McLaurin at plus 175, and then Calvin Ridley at plus 130. When we parlayed those in DraftKings, we got at plus 3,764. So if I can't do math that quick. If you do $5 on that, your payout's going to be $193.22. So if you got a few dollars laying around, you want to throw something on it, and you're you just want to be able to watch the games all Sunday and just I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but if you want to throw a few bucks on it, we would definitely agree with that and let us know if you do. But before we end the show, I know obviously these aren't our only picks of the week. So if you guys have any picks that you really want to let us know about, does anyone here have any picks that they want to go over that they just have some good vibes about or anything before we close the show out?
I did want to touch on that Raiders money line pick. I think the Raiders have beat Denver, I want to say like 7 of the past 8 times. If there's any team that the Raiders have been able to consistently play well against in the past couple of years, it's been the Broncos. So I really do like that pick. I think I'm going to take that one too.
Yeah.
Also hammer Jacobs to score. He scored like 9 times in 7 games against Denver.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to throw that as a 5th player on the parlay, it's just going to increase your odds. So
That's what I'm thinking about doing. There's 2 more people I want to add to that touchdown parlay, and I really wonder what the odds would be with it.
I mean, and I'll go a little behind the scenes here. As we before we get going on these shows, we always just throw in our picks into a group chat, just that way we can know what to expect here a little bit. And we each threw out a few players that we thought were going to score a touchdown. I put my own in. I have Isaiah Pacheco, Jalen Waddle, and Brandon Ayuk as a parlay. All 3 of those. I think Waddle. I mean, he's quick, elusive. I really think that the Dolphins are going to be firing on all cylinders when it comes to offense this week. So I really would like to see him get in the end zone. I think it'll happen. Brandon Ayuk is I don't know. That's my long shot out of these 3. But he is a good safety blanket for Brock Purdy. It's turning out, and I think he's going to get some more opportunities this year to score. So I really like seeing Brandon Ayuk getting in there.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that because there are 2 guys who I want to add to my parlay for the anytime touchdown. I mentioned Calvin Ridley. He's part of what will be my parlay. Chris Godwin is going to be another guy on my parlay. I know he played 1 preseason game with Baker Mayfield. I was kind of like the same logic of Calvin Ridley. Baker Mayfield targeted him like 6 or 7 times in the 2 drives he was in there. So they're going to want to establish that connection really early. This new Bucs offense, it's more dink and dunk than the Bruce Arians offense. So I think Godwin's going to be targeted a lot in this offense. And I think, him and Mike Evans, those are your 2 guys. So you're going to try and get them the ball in the red zone as much as possible. My other one is Lions running back David Montgomery. With Jamal Williams, he scored 17 touchdowns last year. He was their red zone back, their physical, gritty tone setter, very Dan Campbell kind of style. Now Williams is in New Orleans and Montgomery's replacing him, and Montgomery's just better at everything they do. So I think Lions are going to kind of keep that same approach. Gibbs is probably going to get probably more touches overall, but I think Montgomery's going to get more of those red zone touches as that physical between the tackles thumper. And I think they're going to want to establish that identity early on against Kansas City, especially if Chris Jones isn't there. And I think Montgomery is going to punch it in at some point.
I like that, yeah. Yeah, I have David Montgomery in one of my bets this week of him scoring a touchdown, so I really like that pick.
I got in mine, so like I mentioned, Hawkinson already, and Jacobs are 2 of mine. And then I'm also adding in Amari Cooper at plus 170. I really like the Cooper-Watson connection this year. I think that started to build at the end of last season. And, regardless, I feel like anytime you mention the man's name, you got to throw in the caveat. Regardless how you feel about Watson off the field, I think he's going to really hit his stride again this year. I think he's going to get closer to what he once was. And Amari Cooper is still a reliable target. And I think he's going to have a really good year with Watson this year, and I like him to find the end zone week 1.
All right. So for me, Scary Terry was my kind of long shot pick at 175. My other two, both at plus 105 odds, I had Justin Jefferson and Bijan Robinson. I think both of these are pretty safe, as the odds kind of suggest. Jefferson is getting a ton of targets every game. The Eagles have a pretty solid defense, so I don't know if how many chances he'll get, but he's definitely, as soon as the Vikings get in the red zone, he's definitely getting some targets. And then Bijan Robinson, he's just going to be used in so many ways by Atlanta. I feel pretty confident taking him almost every week this season, especially I think they play Carolina this week.
They do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So especially against Carolina, I feel like he's going to get a lot of chances as well. So yeah, I didn't run the odds on the three as a whole, but yeah, I have Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, and Scary Terry.
Yeah, I like that. I think Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those guys, I mean, I wouldn't be sad about picking them every week to score a touchdown. I mean, obviously you're going to lose some weeks, but definitely going to find the end zone with those two. And before, when I gave out my three of Pacheco, Brandon Ayuk, and Jalen Waddle, I did have the odds on that. They're plus 1910 for a parlay. So I did throw that in. And once again, our group around the book, we're going to tweet this out. We have TJ Hawkinson, Isaiah Pacheco, Terry McLaurin, and Calvin Ridley as our anytime touchdown scorer. Once again, that's at plus 3,764. $5 bet pays out $193.22. So we really appreciate everyone watching tonight. We're going to tweet out that pick, like I said, and then let us know in the comments. Tweet at us, comment on anything. Let us know what your picks are. If you don't like our picks, if you do like our picks, if you followed us last week, let us know. And we will see you guys next week for week 3. And we really appreciate it. Have a good night.